Okay. Yeah. So today we'll discuss on some of the important things like status codes, and we'll understand JSON, right? JSON also important. Uh, we covered all these things, right? And the methods, HTTP methods we covered, and we have seen this path parameters. And this is one of the interview question, okay? Make sure you read this before going for interviews. So what we'll check, we have seen what type of testings, challenges we have seen. So what kind of bugs you can find during API testing? So missing or duplicate functionality. Some functionality might be missing that you can find very quickly. Fail to handle no error conditions and security bugs, unused flags, inconsistent error handling, so multi-threading issues, improper errors, but inconsistent error handling, not implemented errors. So these are the ones regularly we'll see. So these things. So you can tell always missing functionality, not implemented errors, inconsistent error handling, and improper errors. So all these points you can mention, functionality not working, right? So this kind of things you can mention when you are, so if they ask you in the interview. So what are the different type of documentation for APIs? So, okay, they are creating APIs, developers are creating APIs, right? Where you will place them, where the development team will place, and we can see them. Some location we need, right? All the, so things you need to see, where you can see that. So that is called API documentation. You can find all the, so API documents, different names will be there. So there, any company will go and store their own APIs in their, so the documentations. So one is a very famous one across the people are using, many development teams, Swagger, so very famous, Mirdot, Slate, Flat Doc, API Blueprint, REST Doc, but most of the people you can say Swagger. So in the Swagger also, they will mention what is the API name, HTTP verb method, what is the structure, and what output it is going to give, what is the response output you will get, what is the response code you will get. Even you can execute that also. Even you can execute APIs in the Swagger document itself. That kind of provision they have given to us. That's a API documentation. So very important. So what tools you're going to use to perform the API testing? So to perform the API testing, we can use different tools. One is a Postman, very common tool many people will use across the development and testing. Postman is the very famous one. SOAP UI, Tosca, APZ, Catalan Studio. So all these tools you can use. And even there is a curl. Curl is another command line tool for sending files using this API URLs. So first let's install Postman or download. Okay, if you already have, that's fine. If you don't have, please go and download the Postman. Okay. Do you have Postman, Swati?
Yes, I have, Ramesh.
Okay, then cool. So then you don't need to worry. Okay, we don't need to go here. You can come and download the Postman. Okay, you can download the Postman here. And so this is the tool used to test your APIs. So all the backend APIs can be tested easily with the Postman. So basically Postman is used to design to check request from the client to the server, and it will give you a response back. So Postman is a powerful tool to test your APIs, and you can run the APIs, and you can create the collections, you can do validations, you can do test cases. So all this you can perform in the Postman itself. So that's the power of this Postman. And so Postman, see a lot of things it will follow. You can create the collections, you can save the test, you can get the data from JSON or XML or CSV files, you can modify tests, and you can supply environment variables, you can run tests on different environments. So a lot of things you can do on the Postman. So let's go and see. So what are all things we can do, how to do that. So installation info, you told you have already. I don't want to repeat that again. And these are the tabs. So different tabs you can find here. So mainly the methods, okay? Methods: get, post, put, patch, delete. So if you know these 5, more than enough. So you don't need to think about other things. Get, post, put, patch, delete. So get means you already know. You can get the data from the server. Post means you can create a new resource in the server. Put means you can update the existing resource. If the resource doesn't exist, it will create the resource in the server. That's a put. There is a patch. Patch is basically a particular field you can update with a patch. And partial update you can do with a patch. And then delete. You can delete the resource from the server. That's the get, post, put, patch, delete. And we have a lot of tabs. You can see params, authorization, headers, body, prerequisite, script, test cases, settings. So we'll mostly use params, authorization, headers, body, prereq, and test. All this you're going to use. I'll show you one by one, okay, while using the tool. So what are the different authorization requests? So if you want to work with any secured APIs, so all the APIs uses authorization to ensure that client request access data securely. If you want to access, authorization is a mandatory thing. You can involve authenticating the sender of your request and verifying that they have permission to access and manipulate the relevant data. If anything, if you want to access the data, right? So you need an authentication. So authorization or authentication is mandatory. Without this, it's not possible. And then if it is a normal thing, it's okay. Okay. So authorization tab can have all these fields: no auth, API key, bearer token, basic auth, OAuth 1.0, OAuth 2.0. So these are the very important. Arc authentication, AWS signature. So mostly we'll use OAuth 2.0, basic auth, bearer token, API key. So these are the, so authorization, your authentication. So some of the authorization types. And so there are other also, like, single sign-on, SSO, two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, password authentication protocols, challenge handshake authentication protocols, extensible authentication protocol. So different authorization details all will be provided. So based on that, your request will be processed. So some request you cannot send without authorization. You cannot send without authorization. Either you have to give a API key or bearer token or OAuth 2.0 or basic auth. At least you have to give one authorization type that is supported by your endpoint URL. So can you see here this part? This is called a base URL. .com is there, right? Till .com, that is called base URL. So remaining the slash is there, right? Slash post, that is your service endpoint URL or endpoint URL. Okay, so endpoint URL we call that. Whatever .com after slash is there, right? That all entire thing is called endpoint URL. You can use so that endpoint URLs. Okay. So that is the one point we should understand this here. Then you will select a method name. Then this is called HTTP verb methods, we call that. Then you have to select if it is authorization, you have to select authorization. And headers, you have to give headers. So we'll see those headers. What are the different headers? I'll show you that. And let's move on to the next one. So like bearer token, you can select that. I told you. So this is okay. What are the some limitations of in the post one when you are testing APIs, right? So collaboration. So one of the challenge. Okay. So while Postman does have some collaboration features, it's not as robust as some of the other tools which is having. Load testing. You cannot do load testing with Postman. Postman has a limited load testing capabilities. It's not a rich, to test the performance testing. But you can test some point of way, but everything you cannot test, load testing. Complex workflows. Postman can become complex. So to use for complex workflows and integrations if you want to do. So that is, it may require a little bit of JavaScript code and manual validations. You need to do that. So limited integrations, while Postman can integrate with a number of tools and services, like you can use GraphQL, that also you can integrate and you can check that. Speed, Postman can be slow to execute the test cases, especially when dealing with large amounts of data, which can become an issue for large scale API testing. Cost. So because Postman is free